Hello everybody, we're here today, you're watching Irikoze on YouTube, and we're here today to talk about David Coffin, who you see there, and Scott Davis, who you see there, and also the dishonest nature of Megan Bruton, who you saw there. This is a wholly circumstantial case that hinges on the fact that Megan manipulated the situation, and Scott may very well be innocent. So we're going to go over some of those things here today and in videos to come. Hello out there. This video today is for you, my subscribers, the people that pretty reliably come back to my channel to see when I've got a new video out. So for you folks, this video is for you guys. I want to ask everybody for their help with an upcoming video presentation that I'm going to be doing. I also want to explain that I haven't had another Making a Murderer video now in maybe about 6 days or so, and there's been a gap, and I just want to explain a bit of why. I also want to give a big thanks to the whole MaM community, everybody out there in the groups that are still arguing and talking about the evidence and digging deeper and looking in and finding new stuff, just like like me and so many other people are doing, because man, it really helps when there's so many people out there digging things up. I know it's been about a week or so since I've made an MaM video, and it's probably going to be, I don't know, I might try to get one out tonight or tomorrow. Hopefully I will. But to explain why, I want to go ahead and let people know what's coming probably within the next week or so. I'm going to be doing a multi-video presentation about the Scott Davis case. It's a case that I've now looked into that I now see many problems with it. There's just some huge problems with it. So I'm going to be doing a multi-video presentation about it. And some of the things about the Scott Davis case that are kind of important are the fact that, number one, you have to understand it is a completely and wholly, totally circumstantial case. There is no hard evidence at all to tie Scott to the crime to begin with. Okay, that's just the starting point. So that's the kind of case we're dealing with, first of all. Then you have some other factors like 72 pieces of lost evidence, investigatorial misconduct, and the fact that the reason why Scott was originally considered a suspect to the point that nobody else was looked at was because they thought he possessed information that he couldn't have possibly possessed without being the killer. But the fact of the matter is that information was passed to him by somebody else, and it's 100% proven. It's 100% proven now, since his trial, that information was passed to him. So these are just some of the main things, and there's a lot more. I mean, seriously, among the 72 pieces of evidence missing, there's some significant pieces of evidence missing that could have really helped Scott and his defense team really point at the real suspect, or potentially point at the real suspect. I understand some people won't be fully, willing to go along with the fact that Scott's innocent. But if you think that there's something even remotely off after you watch my presentation, then I would ask you to please do whatever social media platform you do, tweet, whatever, but send the videos to, say, GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigation, DeKalb County DA's office, Fulton County DA's office in Georgia, and send it to them, and maybe with a short explanation of the one thing about the case that really bothers you. Just a quick shout out, but do it with respect. I would say please do it with respect. Don't be degrading. Have class and act like, just don't act all angry and bitter. I mean, I can understand those feelings. I really can. But when you do this, I would ask that you do it soberly and under control. That's basically the one thing I would ask. But I do, please, if you do, after watching the presentation, if you do in any way think that Scott didn't get a fair shake, then I would like you to tweet, whatever, Snapchat, whatever it is that you do, to those agencies and say, we really hope that Scott Davis his case gets really taken seriously on the upcoming appeal, because he recently had his case was in front of a habeas judge, and it would seem the habeas judge was quite close to possibly asking for a new trial. But what the judge did do is she basically gave Scott one more appeal, and she instructed him or his defense team to continue to find more evidence. And they have found quite a bit. Trust me, there's a lot. There's, a considerable amount of evidence that they have now successfully refuted since the original trial. To show you some of that, there's something you can do in the meantime. Before I get this whole presentation put together, there is a video that is derived from a 48-hour special, Power and Privilege with Dominic Dunn. Because Scott was a very wealthy man, and his family was very wealthy, and so was David Coffin. David Coffin and his family are also very rich, very wealthy. Basically, they are in charge of the Dexter Empire, which, when you watch this special, you find out is the oldest company that's still exchanged on the New York Stock Exchange. So, very powerful, very wealthy people here. So it's on this 48-hour special that a person who is advocating for Scott has gone through it and has put in all of the corrected information since the original trial. They've basically, wherever 48 hours is sticking, is basically is repeating some of the evidence from trial that has now been proven false. Then you'll see some text up on the screen that's explaining that to you and things like that. So I want to go ahead and post that down below in the information down here below my video here. I will also post the Scott Davis website, and on the Scott Davis website you can go there and you can start looking at documents now if you wanted to and start reading. He's got his original trial transcripts, his appeal before, and then I believe, and then the habeas decision is also in there. And all kinds of stuff that has been collected to explain a lot of the stuff about Scott's case is on this website. So I will leave the links for both of those things below. All right, so to give you an idea about how this video series is going to go, it's going to be basically derived from the prosecution's closing argument, the lead prosecutor's closing argument. It was very interesting when I read this argument, because knowing everything I know, so what I'm going to do is, as I'm kind of going through and showing some of the excerpts from the closing argument, I'm also going to be, I'm going to be showing the new evidence along in this series with, in conjunction with sections of her closing argument. Miss Ross is the prosecutor, by the way. I'm going to be showing segments of her closing argument, and I'm going to be showing you the new evidence, and we're going to go through all, most of everything in there, and we're going to show you that it's not very sound. The reasoning, the narrative, it's extremely weak.
She swoops in and picks us up and said, "Let's go. We're going to drive it like we stole it. Let's go get them."
Okay, that first clip you just saw there is a clip of Megan talking about Miss Ross and, the fine timelines and all that, and they are indeed quite fine timelines. It's the windows that they expect Scott to have pulled this stuff off of is quite amazing. But then you heard, that was David Coffin's brother in the second clip, talking about how she came to the family explaining how she wanted to go after this. Drive it like we stole it. Anyways, so I just thought those two were interesting to show you. Those will be they will be featured pretty strongly in the upcoming presentation, because I believe it shows a bias. In addition to the argument being weak, we're going to show you basically the dishonest nature of Megan Bruton, who is, as Miss Ross referred to her in the 48 Hour special. She is the Helen of Troy here. She is the face that launched 1,000 ships. Because obviously they feel that Scott and David Coffin were, in a love triangle, fighting over her essentially, right? Anyways, we're going to see just a lot of the shady things that she's done in her life up to the David Coffin thing. We are also going to show how the lead investigator in this case, Detective Chambers, seriously dropped the ball in many ways, countless ways, really. So many ways. He totally, he arsed up this investigation. He blew it big time. He got stuck because he thought that Scott had this guilty knowledge and he didn't bother. Actually, he did bother. He bothered to look into it and somebody told him, yes, I did hear somebody say that to Scott. And I'm not going to tell you who yet, but yes, somebody told him the night that this was all going down, on the 10th, 10th morning of the 11th, because this was all happening at around midnight on the 10th, which would then become the morning of the 11th at 12 or 12:01. So Chambers actually found out that night that somebody had told Scott this information, so that it didn't originate with him. Chambers still stayed on Scott. He still went after Scott alone only. Didn't look into the other avenues that he should have. So there's going to be him. We're going to hear a lot of things. We're going to hear about how the fingerprint expert, basically, they never put the fingerprints into AFIS because the lead detective basically said, oh, well, that doesn't match my guy. Well, then I'm not interested. So they never run it. They never put it into the database, the AFIS database, to see if there was a match. And then it gets destroyed before trial. So there's there's a lot of things just like that. What I just explained to you, there's a lot of things just like that. There's another instance involving blood swabs that they completely believed were the killer's blood. Didn't match Scott. So it goes on and on. It goes on and on. I'm not kidding. I'm really not. It's really, really bad how bad the investigation was here. So we're going to be getting into a little bit about Chambers. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do basically a video for kind of each day of the main days of this, this murder, and the leading up to it. So that's going to cause us to talk about the 7th, which is a day that David Coffin was burglarized. His home was burglarized and /vandalized. Then we're going to talk about the 9th. The 9th is the day that the prosecution believes David Coffin was killed. Okay, and then we're going to talk about the 10th. The 10th is the point where is the day number 1 where the Porsche, David Coffin's Porsche, was burned around 11:30 in the afternoon, before noon, just before noon. And then also David Coffin's house was burned around, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 7:30 to 8:30 that his house was set ablaze. So I'm going to do a video for each one of those days to cover all the information. There's a lot of stuff, phone records and things like that. So that's why I decided to break it up into multiple videos. And it's why I decided to give you guys this introduction video to kind of give you a little bit of a preparation for it. So there's going to be quite a bit of information, and I'm trying to break it up into an easily digestible fashion. So what I would ask for all of you to do is to just please, maybe don't watch all of it at once, because they're going to be like 10-minute segments. Each segment's going to be 10, maybe 12 minutes. So maybe don't sit down and watch them all at once if you think it's going to be overwhelming. Maybe watch one a morning, say, with your morning coffee for 4 or 5 days. And just kind of really, absorb each video, If not, if you just want to just gung-ho it and go right through it, that's fine too. I have no problem with that. But I really do hope to maybe, get some people's attention about this case, because it is seriously it does bother me quite a bit. I think about, what if something like this happened to me or somebody I love or care about? I would not be happy. I would be seriously pissed. I would be I would be beside myself, because what they've done here is the way that Georgia played this, the way that the Atlanta Police Department, Fulton County District Attorney's Office, the way they played this is they played it in such a way that they totally basically tipped the playing field in their favor and tried to act like oh, poor us, we lost the evidence. Oh, poor us, poor me. It's we lost this evidence that the defendant could have used to clear his name. Oh, poor us. No, sorry, that ain't flying with me. That may have flown back then, but with me, that ain't flying. You screwed up. You screwed up, and the judge allowed you to bring that crap in anyway. Allowed you to bring in your findings about it, and that is absolute crap. So, just some of my issues with the case, but it gives you kind of a brief overview, basically, of what's to come. So, I hope everybody will be interested in it, and like I said, it's something that seriously bothers me, because I would hate to see something like this happen to me or somebody I love or care about. So, and I'll let you guys judge for yourself, of course. And like I said, if you feel it, if you watch the presentation or you watch the 48-hour special and you feel it, go ahead and get on your favorite social media platform and let somebody know about it. But do it with class and do it with respect. Anyway, that's it for today, folks. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe.